In this video, we will explore functions and inverses. We have learned that a function is a relation or a rule between two quantities x and y. We will explore the definition of a function. Let's understand that we say two quantities x and y. X is known by different value names: domain, independent variable, input. Y is also known as range, dependent variable, and output. There are four kinds of relationship between x and y. So let's take first one. If we call them as one-to-one relation. This is my x values input and this is my output y values, which we call them also domain and range. Here the relation is from 1 to 2 and 2 is related to 4 and 3 is related to 6. And if we know, we call as y is equal to 2x as a rule. This is called one-to-one relation. Every element of x is related to y. This x was only one and only one value. That is called one-to-one relation. The third relation here is one-to-many relation. Here my x values are 1, 4 and 9 and my range, look at now this range, 1 will take two y values, that is plus 1 and minus 1. 4 takes 2 plus value, 2 x values, that is minus 2 and plus 2. 9 takes 2 y value, that is plus or minus 3. Here my relation here is y squared is equal to x. In other words, y is equal to plus or minus square root of x. So this is a relation, kind of relation is called many to one to many, because one x value can take many y values. Now let's look at the fourth relationship, that is a many to many relationship here. X values and y values. I have taken two x values, 1 and negative 1. 1 is mapped to both 2 and positive 2. Negative 2 and positive 2. Negative 1 is mapped to both 2 and negative 2. So this is called many to many. One is many x values are mapped to 2 and one x value is mapped to different y values. So that is called many to many relation. So this relation here is x squared plus y squared is equal to 5. You can check here, 1 squared plus 2 squared will give me 5, or 1 squared plus negative 2 squared will also give me 5. That is why it's called a many to many relation. Now, when it comes to function, of these four relations, two relations, one-to-one relation and many-to-one relation are called functions. If you define function is a relation or a rule between two quantities x and y, where every element of x is mapped to one and only one element of the range. We can take the example of our remote control. When we press 193, we get SABC. So that is a function of a remote. So similarly here is two values here, two variables here, x and y. Function means every element of x is mapped to one and only one element of y, and such values are such relationships is called a function. We write y, here we have seen y is equal to 2 of x. So we say f of x is equal to 2x. In this case, we write here f of x is equal to x squared. We replace f of x with y, and that's how we write the function. The definition of a function as a relation of two quantities, the algebraic definition. Now, now I'm going to explain to you the definition of a function from the perspective of a graph. So we have two kind of tests. One of them is called vertical line test. What is vertical line test is any graph, this is my Cartesian plane, and I draw any graph. For example, this is some line, right? Now the graph, it is a function if is any vertical line parallel to y-axis, vertical line parallel to y-axis, intersects the graph at only one point, then it is a function. Then graph is a function. So if the intersection is only at one of the points of the graph, anywhere on the Cartesian plane, then it is a function. Allow me to draw some other graph. This is our parabola graph. And if I take this vertical line, you can see this vertical line intersects the parabola graph only once. Anywhere. It intersects the graph only once. Therefore, this parabola is a function. I'm drawing another graph, some graph here. Let's look at this now. If I put this graph here, vertical line, you can see this graph intersects at more than one point. You can see, right? It intersects here, it intersects here. Therefore, this graph is not a function. So vertical line test means if the vertical line intersects the graph or function only once, then it is a function. If it intersects at more than one point, it is not a graph. And we have, so I am going to explain to you the graphs that we have seen, the functions that we have seen in terms of graphs. Yes, I'm going to explain the function in terms of graph, definition of function in terms of graph, where we apply the vertical line test. So in the case, the first relation that we have seen is a one-to-one relation, and this is the graph of that relation y is equal to 2x. And if I apply the vertical line test here, you can see the graph, the vertical line test intersects the graph only once. Therefore, this is a function. In the second relation, many-to-one relation, y is equal to square. This is my graph of the relation y is equal to x square. Now, if I apply the vertical line test, we can see the vertical line intersects the graph only once. Therefore, this relation is a function. Therefore, one-to-one relation is a function. Many-to-one relation is also a function. Now, let's look at the vertical line test for a one-to-many relation. This is what we have seen, one-to-many relation. Y is equal to plus or minus square root of x. The graph, this is the graph of y square is equal to x. Now, when I do the vertical line test here, we can see this vertical line intersects the graph at 2 points, at 2 distinct points. You can see this. Hence, therefore, this relation is not a function. Vertical line test fails. Now, the last relation is in many-to-many relation. X square plus y square is equal to 5. So, you know, this is a circle. So, I have drawn the circle here in the graph. And if I put the vertical line test here, that means the vertical line is intersecting the circle at 2 points, at more than one point. Therefore, this circle is not a function.